Okay, first of all, hey everyone, welcome to Phase 5 of the story of Michael. This event marks the end of a long month for me. It has been one of the most eye-opening, difficult, and rewarding phases of the process so far. First, let's start by saying thanks to everyone for coming. I really have grown accustomed to sitting in front of the screen every 2 months and going over a lot of my experiences with writing the story of Michael, and you guys have been a huge supporting role in what I do, and I really appreciate the help in everything, especially writing to me and reading over my prologue has meant a lot, and I've taken every note carefully into consideration, and I'm excited to use what you guys have told me to make my book better. Many of you have become regulars to these events, so I'm very grateful that you are still coming to learn about creative writing. This phase includes some pretty interesting experiences that I've encountered in the past month. These are things that have probably affected the release date of my book by a couple months at least. So hopefully what I'm sharing tonight won't be taken lightly. That being said, it should be taken positively. So that's another thing. It seems that after getting to such a completed work with the story of Michael, I've started to learn how much needs to change for me to publish a greater work of fiction. Essentially, this means more work on my end. I have experienced a severe lack of motivation and even felt stuck because of the workload seems unbearable. Regardless, I think this brings us plenty of topics to talk about that will interest everyone. So, without further ado, let's move right into what the topics are for this evening. Tonight we are discussing how to create a brand with a book, how to ask for help when writing, how to take criticism when given, and the novel writing month that is just now happening, starting in the month of November, called NaNoWriMo. I don't know if you guys heard of that. It means National Novel Writing Month, and it's an international thing. It's really just a web-based thing that somebody created. I'm not really sure who it was, a few years ago, and a lot of people have used it to launch their novel into some success. So I want to let you guys know about that because today is the first day and you have an entire month to get a novel cranked out and put in the public's eye. So that being said, we'll come back to that later on, but first off, let's get started with talking about creating a brand for your book. Since I went into business for myself, this is something I have been helping small businesses and startups do to grow in their market. This is developing a brand. A brand is everything. Essentially, a brand is what you would call an object or a thought if it were a person. For instance, Coca-Cola, the soda, is a trustworthy, tasty cola that has been around for a long time. That is the definition, not the definition, those are some characteristics of the brand. Adjectives like trustworthy are typically associated with a person or a group of people. So you can see the shift from company to brand. Company being it's just an object, and when you associate it with personas when you personify the brand, it becomes more than just a brand, more than just a company. So we're going to adapt this type of thinking for our book. Brands are living and breathing. Today, let's talk briefly about discovering your book's brand. Unlike many companies, the brand of a book, like the story of Michael, for instance, is brought to life by one person, me. The soul of the book summed up in a few words. That would be the brand. My words are coming to surface as I write and create, but because the meaning of my book is so important to me, I find it hard to describe. As many of us authors and writers will find, describing your book in just a few words is going to be hard. Besides saying things like fiction, action adventure, romance novel, those are things that describe it, but that's not necessarily what makes it unique. So creating a brand is it's a little bit more than just describing your work. So let's keep going and talking about this a little bit more. And again, please leave any questions you want to in the chat area. I have been receiving some, so please continue to write that. And you can also tweet a question to me by writing @StoryOfMichael and tagging me in the tweet. Okay, so that being said, my vision for the book makes sense to me. My brand, the brand is the book at this point, and the book's brand, I'm discovering, is still in development. I know that can sound a little unclear, but let's talk a little bit more about the benefits of having a clear brand when you complete a book. When you complete a book, it should be clear from the get-go, when you start reading, what the difference is about the book. What's different about it? Most importantly, the first chapter and the sleeve covers are going to be your selling points. These are people that pick up your book in the store and so on. Things that I consider part of the book's brand include writing style, color, texture, font, character profiles, location, time period, mood. These are all things that, and tone, author tone. These are all things that affect the way people perceive your book and your writing. So these are things that people will automatically pick up on even if they're not meant to be there. They're things that you will write when you are describing something or explaining your thoughts that may or may not be on purpose. So let's talk a little bit more about that. The closer you come to successfully developing your brand, the quicker you become known as an author instead of a writer. So that's just a quick tidbit of information. What makes an author and not a writer is somebody who creates something unique from a unique perspective and owns it, and over time develops that as his vision and his work of art. So two types of brands for books. I've came up with this after doing some thinking about what brand means in general and what it means to books. So there's an author brand, first of all. This is what is created when the author writes. He seeks out his unique vision and carries it out. So this is a very subjective form of brand authorship. That means when you simply write and create, that process develops a brand and becomes a brand. So that's one form of brand, and that's a pretty tough thing to get your head around, and trying to break that down for somebody in a few words or sentences is going to be tough for you. So that's what we're working on, and that's what will help you understand your book a little bit better. So when you are going out and talking to agents or publishers and getting things ready, you'll know, you'll have a lot better understanding than your competitors when it comes to trying to get published and what makes your book better and more unique to other people. So that actually leads into the second part of the types of brands for books. The second one is the responding brand. This brand, the responding brand is who reacts to the style of the author. So a brand, the author brand is one person who's uniquely describing his book in a way. And then the responding brand is his audience in a way. The people that react to his unique voice. Not everyone will react to that voice or that authorship, because not everyone will understand it or appreciate it or like it. But the people that do, that is also part of the greater brand, the overall thing that is created by your book. It becomes a relationship. So if somebody reads a chapter, they expect to get something out of it in a certain way. Everyone will get something different from your chapter of a book. So when somebody reads your book, it's important to try to get into their shoes and understand what you're giving to them in a way. So you understand author branding, and so when you do that, you help others respond to your brand. And so it's a relationship. It's a set of expectations that are met when the author delivers on promises made to the audience. This is a slight bit of brand theory thrown into creative writing arena. Hopefully it helps bring some perspective to how your book is perceived in the marketplace, especially by publishers and like-minded critics that you will likely approach and need to understand their side. If you understand average Joe on the street, then hopefully your book will sell to more average Joes. Okay, so that brings us to the next thing. Let's talk a little bit now about how to ask for help with your book. Writing a book is a lot to ask of yourself. So how do you ask someone else to help you? First of all, you should never expect them to do any of the writing for you. No one wants to feel like they're contributing to someone who can't even write for themselves. So that's just a general principle of life. If you can't get your own act together, get off the couch and do your stuff that you need to do, why would somebody else want to do that for you? It's not being mean, it's being, it's the golden rule. Don't do unto others what you would do to you or whatever. So basically it just says, don't have high expectations of other people and you won't be let down. So here are some places to look for writing, some help with writing. And these are probably really obvious, so let's just go over them. These are things I've used. Your family, your friends, and the online writing community. Online writing community is my favorite place because you can pretty quickly get responses to your answers, or to your responses to your questions. And that's why I'm here for you guys. You can ask me questions, I can respond. So basically I've gotten a pool of people that I trust and like and understand how to talk to them. So when it comes time to ask for criticism, I know who I can go to and more importantly, how to ask. Now let's talk a little bit more about exactly how to ask. At this juncture with my book, I have not thought it necessary to go to an editor or consultant yet because I feel my book is not very close to completion. So I just don't want to waste resources. I know it wouldn't be wasteful, but I'm not at a place where I can effectively use an editor to make my book that much better. I can still do a lot of work on my own, even as a non-professional writer yet. So I just don't feel it necessary to put together the funds to edit my book or to get a publisher or anything. I still have a lot of work to do that I can do on my own. And that's probably going to be true for a while, but